Hello everyone. So today's video is a very special video. In this video we are going to solve Puzzle Rush Survival, where I will be showing you how you can solve puzzles, without making much mistakes. The tips and tricks which I am going to share you in this video are going to be very helpful for you whenever you solve any puzzle rush. Whether even if you solve in, let's say, 3 minutes or even in 5 minutes, there are some tips and tricks which you need to follow before solving any puzzle. So let's not waste any much time of it, and let's just begin with it. So basically, as you can see in this video, as you can see here in my screen, that there is a top score and there is best today. So basically, whenever the new day, whenever you solve, if let's say your score is 40, 50, 60, whatever the score is, there will be today's best score will be mentioned here. Top score my so far is 80. I need to break that at some point. So yeah, anyway, so this is 3 minutes. So basically, this is like a blitz time control for solving any puzzle on chess.com. This is 5 minutes. So basically, it's also a blitz only. It's just that you get 2 minutes extra. And survival is unlimited. Is the unlimited time control for solving puzzles. So in this, I would recommend every one of you who are preparing for in chess tournaments or even you know practicing or studying chess, or you want to improve their chess game, then he or she should literally he or she should always solve this puzzle rush survival. So without further ado, we will today in this video solve puzzle rush survival. In my next video, we will be solving puzzle rush of 3 minutes and then of 5 minutes. So with this, we are going to make, let's say, three parts of the puzzle. So let's begin. So as you can see, so basically whatever you just not need to rush quickly with your decision whenever you are solving any puzzle. Just see whether you, if let's say you need to think like which piece is a loose piece. So this piece is a loose piece because it doesn't have any defender, right? The queen is here and the knight is here. First you need to see what is going on in the position. So you got two rooks. Your opponent's got a your opponent's got a knight, queen and a rook. So basically he's a is a lot of material up, and also the queen is targeting the d5 pawn. But now the thing is that after, I think what happened was that you sacrificed your queen for the mate and your opponent did accept it. So now basically this is undefended. So you can simply capture with a check, and there we go. We got the first puzzle. This one is also a pretty easy puzzle. So the thing is that the knight took your pawn, but before that you always should check whether what's going on in the position. So basically, uh, so first you need to count the material your opponent has, and then you need to count your material, how much you have. So let's say opponent got a knight. I mean, opponent got a knight, you got a knight. You got a knight, he got a bishop. You got a bishop, and your opponent got a bishop. So basically, the opponent has two bishops for two knights, and a bishop and a knight for the bishop. Two queens, rooks, two rooks, equal material so far. Now you need to count the number of pawns. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now your opponent got 7 pawns. Now you gotta solve. Now you gotta count your pawns, pawn material. So one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So everything is even. So the basically it's like a tactical puzzle. So you need to see what's happening in the position. So basically your opponent captured back the pawn with the knight. So now if you capture the knight, if you capture back the knight, now the thing is your bishop is opened. As you can see, your bishop will be open. So now there are a lot of tricks now here. So basically what happened is, if you take the knight, pawn takes, now you have a e4 move. This is a double attack move, crisscross applesauce, as everyone says, as Hikaru says, or I think he says this a lot in his stream. So basically, if you take, and if your opponent takes back with the pawn, there is a discover attack, and also a attack on the queen. So it's like a double attack with a discover attack. So this will be the answer of the puzzle. So now here is the rook pawn end game. Now I know everyone suffers in the rook pawn end game whenever they are in the tournament game or any game, practice game, or whether online offline. So this is a very tricky part, but in this case, if you see, the king is behind these three, his own three pawns, and there is no rook. Like the rook is here on c7, our pawn is blocking it from covering this file, and now our rook is open to give a check, and also it's a mate. So basically you just simply go with the flow, just go for the mate. Now you see, this is how you solve a puzzle. Whenever you see any puzzle like this or any puzzle, just look what is happening in the position, count your material, how much material you have, how much material your opponent has, and then you solve. So now in this position as well, as you can see, queen takes pawn, I think. Yeah, queen takes pawn. White is, I think, 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4, so two pawns up. And also black, also white is also a rook up, but as you can see, again white's king is behind these three pawns and there is a back rank threat, and also white's rook is undefended and is under attack currently. It's a loose piece, so basically we will just capture it and we win. So I think so far in this video you have understood how you can solve this type of puzzle. So I can just so the puzzles which I think, like, look at this. This is also a similar type of puzzle. So I won't explain much of you why it is the now in this puzzle, in this puzzle, as you can see, there is a mate in one, because the thing is that, look, white's king is so close to black's king and black's queen. White got two rooks and knight for the queen, even though it looks like white is having a winning position, but white's king is very 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 under mating net. So basically it's queen g7, it's clear mating one. Now you see, in this position, knight takes knight. So many people would say, "Oh, knight takes knight. I will just go for, trade of the knight and trade of the rooks, and yeah, I'll be happy in life." But you gotta understand, you gotta see the position very carefully. And if you see the position carefully, look, there is a mate coming in. As you can see, the queen bishop battery on on this light square diagonal is clearly targeting white's king. Now, obviously, I would recommend you to still, whenever you are solving the puzzles or any, if you are in this kind of position in your tournament game, you just analyze the position on your set, like analyze the position, check what is happening in the position, count the material, and then you go for your plan. So in this plan, this is simply a mate. So just don't think much. This is also a mate in one. It's like a scholar's mate, as you can see. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, if you see like this, you just need to check if this pawn is defended or not. It is defended by the king, but it only has one defender. Whereas the pawn is attacked by two attackers. So simply go with the flow. Go with the mate. Now here in this position, this is also a mate in one, because the rook is covering this file, so the king cannot have any escape square from this side. And yeah, so basically you can just play like this. Now here comes a very kind of a tricky part, but it's not so tricky as you think. So now you see in this position, black got a rook and bishop, like black got an extra bishop for this endgame, and also um, even though black is a pawn down, but it's still it has a piece up. So we are going to go for the win. We are going to go for the mate. So basically, the huge disadvantage black has is its weak king. The king is very open, and it's open for check. So what you can do, and this pawn, look at the f6 pawn. It's very super strong. It's controlling these two squares on e7 and g7. What you can do, take advantage of it and give a check, and wherever the king goes, it's going to be paid. So yeah. Now in this position as well, as you can see, there's this pawn is covering the square, and the queen is also controlling the entire rank. So basically this is a mate in one. Boom. Now this is a back rank mate. This is a very easy and common back rank position. So simply you give queen f2 check first. You don't go. Now remember, many of the people goes queen f1 check, goes checks like this, but you need to understand that there is a rook covering that rank. So what you need to do is give a check on f2, give the check on its the square before the first rank, and then Once the king is cornered, you need to corner the king and then you go for the mate. You see, that's how you solve. Now here is this position. I think white is a pawn up and rest. But the thing is, as you can see again, the king is open and we can't give mate on c1 yet because the rook is covering. So what you can do, you can corner the king by giving check on queens on c2, and then once the king is cornered, go for the mate. You see, and now here comes a little tricky part, but I think it's not so tricky. So basically, first you need to check the position. Black got a knight and a bishop and a rook, whereas white got two bishops and a rook. And white's king, black's king is quite like kind of trapped. So the rook is covering this file, but the thing is that we need to mate him, right? We can't. So basically, what we can't go rook f6 because the knight is covering. We can't take the knight because he will take the rook first. So what you can do, you can give the check first. First of all, you can there is a check you can always see. Remember, guys, whenever you solve a puzzle or whether you are in a position like this, always look out for checks. Whether it's a good check or a bad check, you just need to check whether you. I mean, you just need to go for the checks. Like you not go like directly. Just was make sure if that check is perfect or if it's safe check, then only. So let's this check is quite safe. So let's say the king only has one square on g6. So when it goes to g6, we can go bishop d3. We can cover this file, and now the king is checkmated. Actually, the king has no escape square. So this is the answer. Now we simply go. Now remember, many of you people go h5, go with the pawn checks. But remember, if you play h5, you are undefending your bishop on g5, and now black's king will simply take not only the bishop. I think I mean most commonly take the rook only. So just go with bishop check always in this position. Now this is a pretty easy check as I mean sorry, not check, a pretty easy puzzle as well. So basically what you need to do is look out for checks again. First, look what's happening in the position. So white's bishop has pinned our knight to the king, and it's like we are in the opening stage only. But the bishop is quite undefended. It's like undefended, like no pieces are defending it. So and the king's diagonal is quite weak. So what we can do, we can give a check. We can win the bishop. And now the check is given. Now we can happily trade, right? Because if you count the material now, so white got a knight and a bishop, but we got two knights and a bishop, so we are a piece up. So what we can do, we can simply trade off the queens, simply. And that was a forced trade as well, so which was a bad move by the opponent. So yeah. So now in this position as well, as you can see, the king is quite weak. This diagonal is completely controlled by our queen, and our king is also not so safe, but it's not it's also a safe king, to be honest, because there is okay, so there is no check coming. Rook is not going to check us on d2 because the knight is covering. The queen cannot check on h2 because the rook is covering. So what we can do is we can give a check on a8. If king goes to d7, we can give rook d1 check, and then we can capture the rook with our queen, right? So that's how we solve another puzzle. So look out for checks or safe checks. And now this is a very easy one. I want you guys to think about 5 seconds. I'll give you guys 5 seconds and find the answer to this puzzle. Okay, one, two, three, four, 5. So if you got the answer, very well done. So it's knight f2 check. So it's a fork. You win the rook, and now the endgame is also winning because after king e3, you can simply go king e5. And if king takes knight, you can simply go king e4. You got the opposition. Remember, guys, in the endgame, king's opposition is very important. So you go king e5, king takes e4, and now king e4. Now you can simply push the pawn along. You need to push the king as well so that it can defend. Now this is like I think we have given a knight. So let's count the material first. My opponent got a knight and a bishop. We got and two rooks, and we have only a bishop. So basically, we are a piece down. But the king is open. The king's diagonal is very weak. This pawn is very vulnerable and is attacked by the queen. And got this pawn got no defender. So what we can do, you can simply give a check, And now we can capture the rook because the rook is also undefended, right? And now I think queen takes g7, but now we can simply play rook f8, right? Yep, simply protect the rook. So far the puzzles are going good, and I hope you guys are learning how to solve this type of puzzles at your home or whether in your tournament games. So in this puzzle, basically this is also a very interesting puzzle. We got a bishop for a knight and queen. I mean equal material, I think. So four pawns for four pawns, and yeah, it's a equal material. Black's got a double pawn here, which is not good. Black's king's light square diagonal is quite very weak, and we have only one check, which is rook trade. But this check is beneficial. As you can see, this knight is very vulnerable. It's not defended by any b of the piece. It's kind of misplaced. What we can do is play rook takes rook check, and now we can play a double attack. As you can see, we can win the piece. Boom, boom. So this is a very beautiful puzzle. I want you guys to think for about 5 seconds again and find the answer to this one. It's a one move answer. I hope you guys find it in 5 seconds. So one, two, three, four, five. So if you have found the answer, very good job. It's knight f3 check. It's a smothered mate. Now this is a very interesting but a very easy puzzle. So basically what we used to do is whenever we had this rook, let's imagine the queen on f3 and the rook on f2, and let's say this pawn is not there. So and if the king is always on g8, then we could have gone queen takes f7 and queen f. So we basically cornered the king for the back rank. But here in this case, what we can do is we can bring the king one square forward, like one square on its left side, so so that even if it's in the middle, it's behind these three pawns. It's not in on f8, so it cannot escape to a e7. So after this we can play queen b8 check, and it's going to be a back rank mate. This this and yeah, I mean obviously we are going to take the rook. Now this is also a very interesting and an easy puzzle. So knight, uh, rook and rook. Black got knight, rook and rook, and we also got rook, rook and knight. So we got equal material, but the king is again the very unsafe, and the rook and white's rook has got a very open file. What we can do? Play knight f6 check. We can take advantage of the pin, and now rook h1 is a mate because the king got no squares. See? And now this is a very easy puzzle as well. You just go queen c5 because our rook is controlling the entire rank and our queen is controlling this entire rank. So, boom. um I hope you guys are learning. I hope you guys are enjoying this video. Make sure to share this video to your all your chess friends or even normal friends if they ever want to get into chess and they want to learn how to solve these puzzles. So yeah, so this is a very interesting rook pawn end game. So basically white got two passes, right? We also got a passer, but the rook is attacking this pawn. What we can do, we can simply bring our rook into action, and this is a forced trade because if rook goes to any other square to jump on d1 or let's say e1, our pawn is on the right time to promote. So that's not going to happen. So now you see the pawn is going to get promoted, but our pawn is going to get promoted with a check. I mean, their pawn is going to get promoted with a check as well, but it's our turn. So it's very lucky for us that we are winning this one. So yeah, you're going to promote. Now this is a very interesting puzzle as well. So our rook is pinned. We got a lot of pressure under this rook. I mean it's completely lost. It seems like it's completely lost, but it's not, because as you see the rook, our opponent is pinning our rook on d7, but we are also pinning its rook on d2 as well. What we can do? uh, we can just why not we can just give away the queen, because the idea is our bishop is first of all controlling the square right on p1. What we can do is sacrifice our queen, and now we go rook e1 check, and rook goes back, and we simply capture the rook back, and it's going to be a mate. See, now here is another interesting puzzle. So here is also again a mate in two puzzle. So basically This pawn is weak. It's controlled by both. It's, I mean, okay, you seem like, okay, well, this position is not so much happening. I mean, the rook is there, but what it's doing, it's not doing anything. Well, actually, it's doing a lot of things. So for example, what we can do is we can sack our queen to on g7. The only move for black is rook takes g7, and now we can capture the knight. And the crazy part is, if rook goes back, I mean the rook goes back, then we can go rook takes g8 check, and it's going to be mid because the rook is going to control the entire file. So basically, boom, boom, and the bishop is doing an excellent job of controlling this diagonal, controlling the g8 square. Boom. So now we are on 26. In this puzzle, well, as you can see in the whites, first of all, county material, bishop, bishop, queen, queen, rook, rook. Now he's got a rook for I mean, he's got a rook and a knight. So he's like, I think, two pieces up. But we also have an advantage which is white's king is super weak, and the diagonal is super vulnerable. So what can we do in this position? So we should first look out for checks. Where is the check? There is a check on f4, but is it safe? Not at all, because the bishop is covering the f4 diagonal. Is bishop g3 check safe? Well, actually not. I mean, okay, first of all, you remove the g1 square defending, and also you are just sacking the bishop for no good reason, because after king takes, you don't have queen f4 or queen f2, or not even queen f3 check. So yeah, but we do have queen e5 check, and queen e5 check is not defended by any of white's piece, so we'll just go for it. Bishop comes, and now it's mate. Boom. This is a very simple puzzle, and I don't need to explain this puzzle for you because it's a very common puzzle. Knight h6, boom, and smaller mate. Now rook e3. So I think we lost a knight. Not basically lost. I think we just traded off, and because oh wait, two rooks. Yeah, yeah, we just traded off because knight. We have a knight for a bishop. Well, in this position, what we can do is we need to analyze what's happening in the position. The bishop is loose piece. This rook is also a loose piece. So what we can do to win those pieces? Well, our queen is very active. We can pick queen b2. Now, even if they double, it's not a check or it's nothing much of a threat. Simply capture the bishop. Now, this, if in this case, simply go queen e4. Just look out for safe squares. Now this is a very easy puzzle. Just rook takes h7, because h6 is made, because you cannot take back with the pawn because the king will be hanging. So yeah, boom. You see, you need to take control. You need to take advantage of every of these, small things which your opponent might, like, overlook. So this is a tricky, but not a very tricky puzzle. So basically, we can play knight c3 check. Now look, our queen is also under attack, but there is also we also got a fork first. So we gave a fork, and then now basically you might think, oh well, I can capture the I can capture the queen, but also our queen is hanging. What we can do? Just give a check and a mate. So this is a very interesting puzzle as well, but uneasy again. Now basically you need to, as I said in my in previous puzzles, that you need to look out for checks. So we got a bishop b5 check. We can give bishop d3 check. You're thinking we might win the queen, but black can save its queen by going queen e6, and we got nothing else to do. So we give double check, and the king has to go d8, and now this is controlled by two common piece, and so we are going to put the queen, which is going to be a checkmate. Now this is another interesting rook pawn endgame puzzle where we are not having a rook, but we got two strong castles. What we can do? Well, so we are under check so far, so but we can go queen king b4. Now if he gives check again, we go king a4. Now there's no way he can stop our pawn from getting promoted. So boom, boom, boom. You see? And now here in this position, simply there is a rook sacrifice where you can give a fork. just a second, guys, just a second. Leave this exact files because this exact rank because as soon as it leaves, we can just give a check. We can just promote. So we go G5, G4, G3, and now we can play G2. And now you take. Oh no! Wait, what? Oh, we could should have just promoted. Damn. Ah, so that's one more thing I wanted to explain. Don't go with your plan. Whichever plan you are thinking, just don't go right with it. First understand. So we will going to look at that puzzle again. I will show you what was the mistake we done. So anyways, in this puzzle we can just give a discovered check. And I'm very glad that the mistake happened because it you see if the viewers who's going to solve puzzles, they might need to. I'm not trying to give an example. Like if you go with the plan directly and go for the go very fast, then you can make this kind of mistakes. Like the puzzle was simply we had the answer. It's just that we went too fast and our opponent played some different move which we never expected. So we need to be very careful with that. So here we got two checks. We got this check. We got this check. So in this check, um, the problem is that if let's say king goes to h8, we got nothing. Like literally we got nothing. You see, it seems like a very good check, but it doesn't do anything. In fact, now the knight is hanging and the bishop is going to get away. So what we can do is give such checks that we get another check and some forcing check. We need to look for forcing check. So we got knight e7 check, and now we got knight g6 check, and now we get queen h3. Not don't go queen h4 because the queen is covering the diagonal. So boom and boom. You see, and now here in this position, this is a very interesting as well. But what you need to do is you need to cover this square. This square. So basically, what many people do is, oh, we can go queen h8. We can even go queen h7. But the problem is the king can escape on f7 anytime. What we need to do is remove the problem. The problem is this square. We need to solve this problem by playing g6 so that now this pawn is controlling. Now this check doesn't matter, we can just capture back. And yeah, whenever you see a problem, just find the solution for it. Don't just find the solution, and yeah, you will be absolutely uh, able to solve the puzzle. Now in this position we got so many options. We can take back the rook, bishop takes, queen, rook takes rook, queen takes, and queen takes bishop. But I'm also thinking of another plan which is rook takes bishop, but the problem is that we got rook e8 check. You see there is a rook e8 check. So what we need to do, I think, is we can play rook takes rook. Now if bishop takes, then rook takes rook, queen takes, and now queen takes bishop. Boom, boom, and boom. And now finally this is a very good puzzle. This is basically the we need to give this check so that it's made, but the knight is covering. But we can still give this check because our rook is covering this entire file and the king does not have any escape square on e7. So blam and blam. Now here in this position, what we can do is we can now everybody might think, okay, we can give takes, we can either save the bishop or we can even take on b7, but it doesn't matter. We can just push a7. This and just king takes. There's nothing more much you can do after that. This is our only pass pawn, our only hope. So we go a7. Now the rook. Now I mean you can from now we need to count here. We need to count the material. We got a bishop and a rook, and our opponent got a rook, bishop, and a rook, and knight. So promoting is a very bad option. So what we need to do is we need to give rook d1 check, because after rook d1 check we are going to win the rook, and also we are going to about to promote. So blam, blam. Now here in this position, this is a very kind of a tricky, but we can solve it because um, in this one we can simply, like, let's say there is an option to take the knight. So if we take the knight, let's say pawn takes, but it doesn't do much, right? So what we can do is, I think if we take with the bishop, pawn takes is forced. And but this is also a very tricky puzzle for me as well as I'm solving this because hmm, what we can do here is we can play knight takes knight if pawn takes. Interesting. To be honest, I'm finding difficult to find the answer of this one now. As you can see, you might not get easy puzzles all the time. You might get tough puzzles as well. Now, at that time, what you need to think is what we should do. We should not rush into the answer, but since the video might be too long, I need to make a decision within some minutes. So maybe knight takes I'm going to make. Pawn takes. Okay, knight takes is right. Now, what we can do is we can play queen h. Now I'm taking queen h5 basically. Okay, queen h5 is right. Now we can play bishop takes, and pawn if pawn goes to f6, then we got knight takes f6. So I think this should be the answer. Takes, and now oh no, what, that was a mistake. Damn. I think it was we will look at the answer because I think we were very close. So this I think is knight e4 because we attack the pawn as well, but and also we defend the g5 square, although king h5 is something I'm concerned. So what we can do is we can go king d5. If f5, then we can go knight e4, and if knight h king h5, then that's the thing I'm wondering. I don't know if I should go with this. Look, even if it's wrong, it's fine. At least you guys should understand how we can solve the puzzle. We need to be very careful with our ideas. So basically, we can go king d5. We can also go 94, but thing is this. But then we can go king f5. That's the pro. Oh wow. Okay, wait. I think I found it. This, this, and now just take the pawn, and now we can go king e4. We can give away our knight so that our king can win back the pawn, and we can have a pass pawn, extra pass pawn. So boom, boom, and boom. Oof, that was close. But now there is another great puzzle. So here, what we can do is we can play bishop takes knight because rook takes knight is a blunder, instant blunder because now queen takes queen. Now queen is a loose piece. Gotta understand. So it's not working right away. So we can go bishop takes knight. Now rook comes here. Now we can go rook d8, which is I am thinking. Um, okay, and now we can go queen takes rook. We can go queen takes rook, but the thing is that he's going to win back. So let's say if I go rook takes rook, then I think rook takes rook there is quite sensible because if rook d1, then we can have rook d1 check, and now we are going to attack the queen. So this is going to be the answer. Okay, cool. This is a simply win. This is just what is this? This is a test of vision, nothing else. And in this puzzle, what we can do is we can simply capture the pawn, or can we capture the pawn? If we capture the pawn, so how many defenders does this pawn has? One and two, right? And how many attackers does the pawn has? One and two, right? So if we capture, knight captures, knight captures, bishop captures. So what we can do is, interesting. I think we should capture. Okay, wait, I think we can capture. And now we can play queen e5 check. And if bishop f4, then we can capture the knight with our queen. And if any other move, then we can just capture with the knight. So blam, blam. All right. So this is another interesting puzzle. So here we can capture the knight. If it captures our bishop, our queen, then we can capture the queen. And if bishop takes c7, we can play bishop takes c2, and we are going to be just, yeah, we're going to, I think, be up a piece then. So blam. So queen d2. So again, we opponent doesn't play always our expected move. What we can do now, we can play f6. So because our bishop is also under attack, but we can counter attack. So boom, and now the bishop is saved. So what we can do is play bishop h5. We can save our own bishop as well. Now this is interesting. So now if bishop takes, simply rook takes queen, and now there is nothing much we can do because um, there's no, there's not a good discovered check. If bishop c8, then king d7. So what we can do is we can play forcing moves. We can play checks. Blam. We have to take with the queen. No? Wait, what? Okay, so let's check out the puzzle. Okay, let's check the puzzle out. Okay, so if blam, what we can do is, okay, so check. Oh, we need to give this check because now the queen is covering this diagonal and the bishop is covering this diagonal. Okay, this was the one mistake. So guys, always remember, whenever you solve any incorrect puzzle, you should always analyze that specific puzzle to, so you can learn from it. You can see where you went wrong, right? So in this one as well, now in this one, we were very close. So let's see. So knight takes knight, we played queen h5, and we played bishop takes. And now we should have just simply captured the bishop, because now the idea is you cannot capture back because the queen is hanging. Ah, okay. I mean, my opponent played that move, which is very insane. But yeah, it's a wrong move. But yeah, that's what the answer was. Now in this puzzle, we knew the answer. We knew the answer. We were doing absolutely perfect. So now here we need to just had to just promote instead of taking the taking the rook, because after king takes you cannot promote because it's covering the given square. So yeah, so I hope you understood the basic idea of how you can solve your puzzles. Let me know in the comment section if you want to whenever you want the part 2 and 3, where in part 2 I'm going to solve the puzzles in 5 minutes, and in the part 3 I'm going to solve the puzzles in 3 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed this series. This is going to be a new series of mine. Have a great one, guys, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Get out of here.